Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Total War Warhammer Legendary Lord lore video on Throgg. Now, we know he will be the second Legendary Lord for the new Norscan faction. That is a pre-order for Total War Warhammer 2 coming up. I think it's on the 10th of August, unless I'm mistaken. That might be wrong. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he was originally a Chaos, just pure Chaos Lord, and I have covered him before in my Missing Legendary Lords for Chaos video. You'll find popping up in the top right hand corner now. Now, if you guys have seen that video, feel free to skip this one, because this is mostly information edited out of that one and then just reworked for people who maybe are new to my channel or haven't encountered that video before. So do feel free to skip it. Otherwise, do please sit back and enjoy. Throgg. Now, Throgg, it would be easy for Total War to implement. You'd essentially take a troll, make him spikier, give him a mallet, done. Now, well known in the Warhammer world is the fact that trolls are idiots. Any dim-witted child knows that trolls just have a kind of bestial intelligence and can't do math, can't really do any kind of complicated thought. But there is a rumor that there is a troll in the northern parts of the world with a unique kind of malevolent cunning who can think and strategize and plot. And this individual is said to be called Throgg, the Troll King. And Throgg makes his kingdom in the northern wastes of the old world. Court is not made out of mewling politicians or petty knights, but of bestial trolls who obey Throgg at his beck and whim. Now, Throgg himself sits upon a rocky throne amidst a labyrinth of icy caverns that are strewn with the bodies of human challengers who have come to challenge Throgg over the years and if not the centuries. Now, Throgg himself was perfectly content to live out his life in his northern realms, ruling over his troll brethren and whoever else happened to fall into his territory. But year after year, champions of men, hearing the stories of Throgg, travel to the northern wastes looking to challenge the king of the trolls. Inevitably, they meet a grisly end, and more often than not, end up in the belly of the trolls, or indeed the Troll King himself. One such unlucky individual was once wearing what has become known as the Wintertooth crown, and upon gobbling him down, the crown got caught on one of Throgg's tusks and has been lodged there ever since. Eventually, Throgg's patience began to run out. He began to tire of his peace and his kingdom being invaded year after year by these silly, stupid humans. And so, as of these current Warhammer timeline, he said enough is enough. And Throgg has taken to calling to him all of the trolls and monsters and beasts within his kingdom, and has sworn on the dark gods to purge the lands of the kingdoms of men just because they've ticked him off that much and they just won't leave him alone. So he is going to murder all of them. So he's called to himself this massive horde of monsters and has begun his march south to raid the Empire. Yeah, that's kind of where Throgg is in the current Warhammer timeline. And he has a couple of pretty interesting special rules. Of course, he is a troll. He causes fear. He has a rule called Copious Vomit, where his vomit attack is particularly strong. Now, it's described as a breath weapon on the tabletop game. Now, I don't understand why they haven't implemented breath weapons for living creatures yet in Total War Warhammer. It can't be that hard a mechanic. The rings, there's a number of rings and special magic items in Total War Warhammer that allow you short-range breath attacks. So why you can't adapt that to make it a breath weapon for both dragons and potentially for Throgg as well is beyond me. But Throgg essentially has this breath weapon that's his vomit, and as you may know, troll vomit is acidic and can kind of burn away armor and is a horrific thing to have poured upon you. So that's a breath weapon he should have, and I think they should implement it the same way they implement the breath weapon rings. So it's a small radius around him that he can fire it in, and it fires out like that. And imagine him just sort of projectile vomiting acid upon all these units, and it would be armor piercing as well, so you wouldn't be able to make an armor save against it, and that could be a potentially devastating attack against the right opponents. Another rule of his is Lord of the Monstrous Horde, which on the tabletop would mean that Throgg can count trolls, which are usually a rarer unit, as a core unit, which just means he could take more, he could essentially take an entire army of trolls. Now, what this would translate as in Total War Warhammer, we've seen it similarly before, is essentially cost reduction in trolls in an army, and maybe a number of buffs to trolls in his upgrade tree. And his other ability is the Wintertooth Crown, which is the crown, as you can see on his tooth there, that he got caught when he was eating some lordly prince or other. Now, what this crown does on tabletop is it gives a leadership bonus to any monsters or monstrous infantry or beasts within his army. And essentially, I think it should do the same thing, but it would be kind of an army-wide campaign buff where the leadership for trolls, if you could make trolls unbreakable, that would be a little bit OP even necessarily with Throgg, but that would be pretty cool to see. But essentially a leadership buff for trolls and monstrous creatures, as well as buffs within his upgrade chain I'd like to see for the monstrous creatures themselves. I think that'd be really cool. And a really unique thing for the Chaos armies as well, because there's not a lot of incentive to use like the Gore-Beast chariots necessarily, or the trolls, because some of the Chaos infantry itself can do the job. You don't really need a lot of those monstrous things. But to have a complete army of monsters in Total War Warhammer as it stands now for Chaos would be something very unique. And that about brings us to the end. He really is just kind of a troll that wanted to be left alone up in the Northern Wastes, but too many people kept bothering him, kept trying to murder him, and he just went, screw it, let's kill them all, and engaged in his march southwards. So I'm looking forward to playing as him. I have some mixed feelings as to him being made a Norscan Lord rather than a pure Chaos Lord, but I think the fact that he's really going to be a troll general, he's going to be all about the trolls, not trolling guys, but trolls, and because of that, I think with them adding new and different types of trolls to the Norscan faction, I'd be more inclined to build my kind of dream army for him, which is almost exclusively troll-based. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching. A special thanks to my patrons, Reese, Colin, Thomas, Mateus, Samuel, Matthews, David, Scion of the Emperor, and Niblets. Thank you guys for supporting me on that. And as for everyone else, I look forward to catching you all on the next one.